Hey, this is Joe at the Pour Over.
And this is Zan at the Pour Over.
Today, we're talking about a deadly ambush on firefighters in Idaho, controversy after a UK music festival, the Senate passing President Trump's big beautiful bill, and other top news for Wednesday, July 2nd. Stay informed while remaining focused on Christ with the Pour Over today.
Here's your quote of the day. All death can now do to Christians is to make their lives infinitely better. Tim Keller. Let's get started with some espresso shots.
Authorities have identified a 20-year-old suspect in Sunday night's deadly ambush against Idaho firefighters. The man allegedly started a brush fire in Canfield Mountain in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, to lure first responders before opening fire from a sniper position. 2 firefighters were killed and a third was injured during a standoff that lasted several hours. 911 audio captured a pinned-down firefighter pleading for help during the assault. The alleged shooter's body was eventually found near the scene with a firearm and flint fire starter. It's believed he took his own life. The motive remains a mystery. The suspect reportedly aspired to be a firefighter, though authorities described him as a quote-unquote drifter, and court records show a troubled background. Meanwhile, Idaho honored the slain firefighters with a miles-long procession and will fly flags at half-staff until after a memorial service. The promise of heaven does not remove the pains of this world, but it does give us hope, strength, and peace during life's most difficult seasons. Join us in praying for hope, strength, and peace for Idaho. Here's a prayer from the Book of Common Prayer. Grant, O Lord, to all who are bereaved the spirit of faith and courage, that they may have strength to meet the days to come with steadfastness and patience, not sorrowing as those without hope, but in thankful remembrance of your great goodness and in the joyful expectation of eternal life with all who love you.
The Senate passed the One Big Beautiful Bill yesterday afternoon. It was a slog. The upper chamber endured an over 24-hour, quote, votorama on amendments as Republican leadership worked to shore up votes. Eventually, 3 Republican senators joined all 47 Democrats in voting no, and VP Vance broke the 50-50 tie. Now, the 940-page bill, representing many of President Trump's priorities, including making 2017's tax cuts permanent, heads back to the House for approval, which is not guaranteed. The House only narrowly passed its version of the bill 215 to 214 in May, and the Senate made meaningful changes, including a further $130 billion reduction to Medicaid, $930 billion total. The Congressional Budget Office projects the Senate's version will add $3.3 trillion to the national debt, a figure that reignited Elon Musk's vocal opposition to the legislation and resurrected his feud with President Trump. Here's a verse to consider when tempted to feel like everything is riding on Congress. I lift my eyes toward the mountains. Where will my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. Psalm 121, verses 1 and 2.
Music and controversy abounded at England's Glastonbury festival last week. One of the acts, British punk rap duo Bob Vylan, is under criminal investigation after its lead singer led chants of, quote, death, death to the IDF, the Israeli military, during the show, which was then live-streamed on BBC, leading to widespread condemnation. U.S. Deputy Secretary of State Christopher Landau responded that Uncle Sam was revoking the band's visas. They have stateside concerts scheduled this year, saying, quote, foreigners who glorify violence and hatred are not welcome, end quote. The lead singer doubled down, saying on Instagram, quote, I said what I said. The mostly annual concert, they'll take off 2026 as a fallow year to allow the farm that hosts it to recover from the 210,000 concertgoers, featured headliners Olivia Rodrigo, The 1975, and Rod Stewart. Culturally hot topics frequently make people think, speak, and act poorly, including us. We can respect others and represent God better if we are quick to listen and slow to speak. James 1, verses 19 through 20 says, "My dear brothers and sisters, understand this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to anger, for human anger does not accomplish God's righteousness."
Hey, it's Ellie from The Pour-Over, and I'm officially in my breezy summer era, swapping out my cold weather wardrobe for linen everything. And with Quince, the transition's been effortless. Their linen is 100% European flax, which sounds fancy, and is, but their summer staples come without the fancy price tag. I grabbed a couple pairs of linen pants and some overalls, and have zero budget regret. Whether I'm heading to church, packing for vacation, or just trying not to sweat through another Tuesday, Quince is my new breezy BFF. Stick to the staples that last. With elevated essentials from Quince, go to quince.com/TPO for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/TPO to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/TPO.
In other brews, here's a rapid round of updates. The jury in Sean Diddy Combs' sex trafficking trial has reached a verdict in 4 of 5 charges, but is stuck on the biggest charge, racketeering, citing, quote, unpersuadable views on both sides. The judge dismissed the jury yesterday late afternoon without hearing the partial verdict, instructing them to continue deliberating on the remaining charge this morning.
The University of Pennsylvania will ban transgender athletes from its women's sports teams. The decision resolves a federal civil rights lawsuit brought by the Trump administration that centered on Leah Thomas, a former UPenn swimmer and the first transgender athlete to win a Division I title. The school will restore previous records and send apologies to female athletes who lost to Thomas.
Brian Kohberger is expected to plead guilty today to avoid the death penalty. The former criminology PhD student, who is accused of fatally stabbing 4 Idaho college students in 2022, will waive appeal rights and agree to spend life in prison without parole. One victim's family called it justice, while another said they're, quote, beyond furious, claiming officials, quote, have failed us.
Trade talks are back on between the U.S. and Canada after the Great White North dropped its 3% digital services tax late Sunday. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said that PM Carney, quote, caved to President Trump, while Canada's finance ministry said they'll resume negotiations ahead of a July 21st deadline. Stocks hit record highs Monday as optimism rose regarding favorable trade partnerships.
Tibet's bringing out the balloons and prayer flags for the Dalai Lama's 90th birthday. Festivities, including prayer gatherings and cultural performances, kicked off in Dharamshala, India, ahead of the Tibetan Buddhist leader's July 6th B-Day. Also on the schedule, a speech from the Dalai Lama detailing the complex process for identifying his, quote, reincarnated successor, historically determined by a mix of spiritual and political influence.
That's all we have for today. Thanks so much for listening, TPO fam. If you're listening on the Apple Podcasts app, give us a 5-star rating and drop a review. If you're listening on Spotify, give us a follow and hit the notification bell to never miss a new episode. We're grateful for your support and hope you have a great rest of your week. See you on Friday with a special halfway through the year episode to celebrate Uncle Sam's birthday. You love God, you serve Him, you're involved in your church. But deep down, there's a quiet question that won't go away. Does God really love me, the real me? In Known and Loved, Glenna Marshall explores a transformational truth in Psalm 139. We are fully known and loved by the triune God of the universe. See this unshakable truth in a new light and order a copy today. Check it out at the link in the show notes.